You think boredom is just wasted time, don't you? Just another dull, empty moment you scroll past? But what if I told you that boredom holds the key to your greatest ideas, your biggest breakthroughs, and the life you've been too distracted to live? The most brilliant minds, the most successful people, what do they all have in common? They embraced boredom. They sat with it. And in that silence, they found something the rest of the world is too impatient to see. But you run from it, don't you? You fill every empty second with noise, afraid of what you might hear in the quiet. What if right now you're ignoring the very thing that could change your life forever? Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just another video. It's a wake-up call. And if you miss it now, you may never realize what boredom has been trying to tell you all along. I promise you this, if you give me just a few minutes, I'll show you why boredom isn't the enemy you think it is. And by the time this video ends, you'll never see it the same way again. You've already come this far. Don't stop now, because the next few minutes might just change everything. Boredom is not just an empty space. It is a silent war within the soul. It forces you to confront your fears, your dreams, and the terrifying stillness of your own mind. Most people run from it, seeking distractions that numb the ache. But those who face it head-on discover their true selves. Even the gods cannot escape boredom, for it is woven into the very fabric of existence. It creeps into moments of comfort, whispering that something greater awaits. The weak drown in its silence, filling the void with meaningless noise. The strong listen, and in that stillness, they create. Boredom is the hunger of the soul, an ache for something more. It is not a curse, but a compass pointing toward transformation. When you sit with it long enough, it reveals what you truly crave. Ignore it, and you may wander through life, forever unfulfilled. The cure for boredom is not distraction. It is curiosity. It is the willingness to look deeper, to ask questions that shake the foundations of your reality. Boredom is not a void. It is an unopened door, but only the brave dare to step through it. Boredom is not the absence of meaning. It is the desperate search for it. In that restlessness lies the truth you have been avoiding. You can drown it in noise, or you can listen to what it is trying to tell you. The choice is yours, but so are the consequences. Before every great breakthrough, there was boredom, a moment of frustration, of emptiness, of a mind clawing for something more. But those who embraced it, who let it fester, who sat in the discomfort, found their way to genius. Because boredom isn't the enemy of creation, it is the birthplace of it. Boredom is not a sign that nothing is happening. It is a sign that something is about to. The world slows down, the noise fades, and all that remains is the whisper of an idea. Most ignore it, seeking quick fixes to numb the stillness. But the ones who listen, they change the world. Boredom is the great teacher of those who dare to learn. It does not coddle. It does not comfort. It demands. It forces you to sit in your own mind until you create something new, something powerful, something that matters. And those who fear it will never know what they are truly capable of. Every masterpiece began in a moment of unbearable boredom, a mind left alone long enough to wander, to dream, to build worlds no one had ever seen. Boredom is not the enemy, it is the test. Will you numb it or will you use it? Boredom is a rebellion of the soul against a life too small. It screams that you are meant for more, that your days should not be wasted in dull repetition. It is not the world that needs to change, it is you. What will you do with the ache? Success is not built on passion alone. It is built on the ability to endure boredom. The hours of repetition, the relentless patience, the willingness to show up when nothing is exciting. The great ones do not chase constant thrills. They master the art of waiting, because those who conquer boredom conquer everything. Boredom is not a pause in your story, it is a test. It is where most people stop, where they decide it is too hard, too slow, too meaningless. But the ones who push through, who refuse to quit when everything feels still, they are the ones who win. Boredom is the fire that forges discipline. It burns away the weak, leaving only those who are strong enough to withstand its flames. The road to greatness is not paved with excitement, but with relentless, monotonous effort. And only those who embrace the stillness will reach the end. Boredom is the battlefield where success is won or lost. Most surrender, running toward distractions that steal their potential. But those who stay, who endure the discomfort, who use it as fuel, they become unstoppable. Greatness is not found in moments of excitement, but in hours of boredom. It is built in the quiet, in the repetition, in the days where nothing seems to change. The ones who keep going, who refuse to give in to restlessness, they are the ones who rise. Boredom is not the enemy, it is the invitation. It calls you to something deeper, something richer, something that cannot be found in constant distraction. Most ignore it, numbing themselves with noise. But those who accept its challenge will find something extraordinary. Boredom is a mirror, showing you the life you have built. If you hate what you see, do not turn away, change it. Boredom is not the problem, it is the symptom. And only by facing it will you ever be free. You were not born for a life that bores you. That ache in your chest, that restless hunger, that need for something more. It is not a flaw. It is your soul demanding a story worth telling. Will you answer it? Boredom is the whisper of a life unlived. It does not mean there is nothing to do. It means there is something waiting to be done. It is not the universe failing you. It is you failing to listen. What will you do with the silence? Boredom is not an absence. It is a warning. It tells you that something is missing, that your life is not enough, that you are coasting when you were meant to soar. Ignore it and you will fade. Face it and you will finally begin to live. Boredom is the seed of invention. It is the space where the mind, left unoccupied, begins to build, to create, to dream. Every great idea, every breakthrough, every revolution began with someone sitting in the unbearable stillness. Those who fear boredom will never know the power of what it can create. Boredom is the silent architect of genius. It forces the mind to wander, to connect the dots no one else sees, to discover beauty in the ordinary. The greatest thinkers in history did not fear boredom. They used it, and in that silence, they built worlds. Some of the best ideas in history started with one sentence. I was bored. And in that boredom, a mind searched for something new, something different, something better. It is not comfort that creates innovation. It is the desperation to escape the dull. The only question is, will you use it or will you run from it? Boredom is not emptiness. It is a void waiting to be filled. It is the space where imagination takes root, where creativity finds its wings, where brilliance is born. If you refuse to sit in that space, you will never discover what waits on the other side. The world is built by those who did. Boredom is not the enemy of progress. It is its fuel. It pushes the restless, the hungry, the dreamers to build, to change, to create. The comfortable remains still, but the bored move the world forward. Boredom is not a punishment, it is a lesson. It asks you to sit with yourself, to listen to the thoughts you drown out, to hear the voice you ignore. It is not trying to break you, it is trying to awaken you, but only if you dare to be still. Boredom is the whisper of your soul, begging you to wake up. It is not a sign that there is nothing to do. It is a sign that something is missing. You can bury it under distractions, or you can face it and ask, what am I truly longing for? The answer might change everything. In boredom, there is nowhere to hide, no distractions, no noise, no escape, only you, alone with your thoughts. And maybe that's why it feels unbearable, because it forces you to see yourself. Boredom is the space where you finally hear your own voice. In the rush of life, you silence it with work, with screens, with constant motion. But when all is still, when there is nothing left to distract you, listen. What is it trying to say? Boredom is not the absence of meaning. It is the desperate search for it. It is the feeling that you are meant for something more, that there is something waiting just beyond reach. The lost run from it, but the seekers embrace it. And in that stillness, they find themselves. Boredom is where most people give up. The excitement fades, the struggle begins, and they mistake the stillness for failure. But those who endure, who push through the mundane, who keep showing up even when it isn't thrilling, They are the ones who master their craft. Boredom is the price of greatness. It is the quiet hours, the endless repetition, the days when nothing changes and you keep going anyway. The ones who chase only passion will never last, but the ones who learn to love the stillness will rise above the rest. True mastery is built in the moments no one sees. The boring hours, the tedious practice, the slow and steady work that leads to excellence. Most people quit when it stops being fun, but the best, they stay and they build something unforgettable. You do not become great by avoiding boredom. You become great by embracing it, by making it your ally, by using it to sharpen your skills and strengthen your mind. Most will choose comfort over discipline, but those who choose boredom, they choose power. Boredom is a test of who you truly are. Will you run from it, seeking distraction and empty entertainment? Or will you sit with it, use it, let it shape you into something more? The answer will define your future. Boredom is the silent thief of dreams. It lulls you into comfort, convinces you that good enough is all you need, and steals the fire from your soul. But if you let it, it can also be a gift, a push to change, to grow, to seek something greater. The choice is yours. Will you let it break you, or will you let it drive you? Boredom is not the problem, it is the symptom. It is the signal that your life has become too small for your soul. You can ignore it, distract yourself, pretend it isn't there, or you can listen and finally dare to change. Boredom is the whisper of an unlived life. It tells you that you are standing still when you are meant to run. It is not trying to punish you, it is trying to wake you up. The question is, will you listen? Boredom is a crossroads. One path leads to distraction, to wasting time, to numbing yourself until the feeling fades. The other path leads to something new, something thrilling, something you never would have found without the silence. Which road will you take? Boredom is not the absence of things to do. It is the absence of meaning. It is a hollow ache, a silent plea for something greater. You can drown it in noise, or you can use it as fuel to create a life that excites you. But whatever you do, don't ignore it. It's trying to save you. Let children be bored. Let them sit in silence, stare at the walls, wander in their own minds. Because in that boredom, they will learn to imagine, to create, to make their own joy. If you take it away from them, you take away their ability to dream. Boredom is where childhood magic begins. It is where sticks become swords, where backyards become kingdoms, where the mind learns to build something out of nothing. If we steal boredom from our children, we steal their creativity. Let them be bored and watch what they become. A bored child is a child on the edge of discovery. Give them space. Let them sit with it. Watch what their mind begins to build. Imagination is not born from constant entertainment. It is born from the silence in between. And those who master boredom will never fear the quiet. Boredom is the playground of the mind. It is the space where stories are written, where adventures begin, where ideas take flight. If you always fill the silence, you will never hear the magic waiting inside. So let yourself be bored and see what happens next. The child who is never bored will never learn to dream. The adult who is never bored will never learn to create. Boredom is not a curse, it is a gift, and only those who embrace it will ever truly live. Boredom in love is not a sign of its end, but a test of its depth. The thrill may fade, the newness may vanish, but what remains is the quiet choice to stay. Love is not about constant excitement. It is about finding magic in the ordinary. And those who understand this will never lose what truly matters. Relationships are not destroyed by storms, but by silence, by the boredom that creeps in when two souls stop seeing each other. Passion ignites love, but it is patience that keeps it alive. The strongest love is not the one that burns the brightest, but the one that endures even in the stillness. Can you love even when the world is quiet? What if boredom is not an enemy, but the universe whispering that life is waiting to be lived? That every dull moment, every restless sigh is not a curse but a call to move, to change, to create, to become. And the tragedy is not that boredom exists, it is that so many ignore its message. The greatest tragedy is not a life filled with struggle, but a life filled with nothing at all. A life where every moment is numbed, every silence is drowned in noise, and the fire of the soul is slowly extinguished. Boredom is not the enemy. It is the final warning. Wake up before it is too late. One day you will look back and realize the moments you called boring were the moments you had the chance to change everything. The long afternoons, the quiet nights, the spaces where nothing seemed to happen. These were not wasted. They were waiting for you to choose something more. So, what will you do the next time boredom creeps in? Will you run from it, drown it in distractions and let another day slip away? Or will you sit with it, listen to it, and finally uncover what it's been trying to tell you? Because here's the real question. If the greatest minds in history used boredom to change the world, what could you create if you did the same? Think about that. And when you do, tell me in the comments below. Trust me, you are not alone in this. There's an entire community here, a space for thinkers, dreamers, and those who refuse to live on autopilot. Your story matters, so share it. And if this hits something deep inside you, you're going to love what's coming next. There's something even more powerful that no one talks about. Something that will change the way you see your life forever. But I'll save that for the next video. So don't just leave. Commit to the journey. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's keep uncovering these hidden truths together. Because once you see the world this way, there's no going back. Oh, and if this video made you think differently, even for a second, tap that like button. Not just for me, but for everyone else who needs to see this. Because the more people who wake up to this truth, the less alone we all feel.